My parents disowned me at 16 for getting pregnant, then spent years bragging about a grandson who didn't even exist. I let them keep the lie until the moment I exposed everything in front of 150 witnesses. My name is Nova Sinclair. I'm 37 now, but my story really started 21 years ago when my parents threw me out of the house for getting pregnant in 10th grade. I was just 16. It was cold, raining hard that night in January, and I stood there with one suitcase while my mother pointed at the door like I didn't belong there anymore. She told me I was dead to them. That same night, they signed papers cutting me out of the family completely. Not just me, any child I might ever have too. Like I never existed. I kept those papers. I kept everything from that night. For 21 years, I held on to it all. After that, I became invisible. They told people I had moved abroad, started some new life somewhere else. They built this perfect image of themselves on top of the truth they buried. To everyone else, they were still the perfect family. No one knew what they had done to me. Then, just last week, they showed up at my door, smiling like nothing ever happened, acting like we were still family. They said they wanted to meet their grandson, the one they'd been bragging about for months to over 100 of their most important friends. They even offered me $250,000, like money could fix everything. What they didn't know was simple. The grandson they had been promising everyone didn't exist, and what they were about to find instead was going to destroy everything they had spent 51 years building. Back in Denver, Colorado, in January 2004, I was just a 16-year-old sophomore at St. Mary's Academy. On the outside, my family looked perfect. My dad, Caleb Sinclair, ran a successful real estate law firm downtown. My mom, Hannah, had been president of the PTA for 5 years straight. Every Sunday, we sat in the front row at Denver Community Church, dressed in matching outfits she carefully picked out the night before. Everything looked polished, controlled, perfect. But inside the house, there was a clear order to things. I learned my place early. My older brother Owen was 23 and already deep into dental school. He was the one everyone bragged about. My sister Emma, 21, was studying to be a teacher, following the path my mother approved of. And then there was me. I was the surprise. The child my mother had at 35, 7 years after she thought she was done. I always felt like I interrupted something important in her life, like I wasn't part of the plan. And I don't think she ever really forgave me for that. I met Aiden Cooper at the public library downtown. He was 17, working part-time at his uncle's auto repair shop. He didn't come from a polished world like mine, but he had the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. The first time we talked, I was sitting in the biography section, crying quietly because my mom had forgotten to pick me up from school again. It was the fourth time that month. I remember feeling stupid for even waiting. Aiden noticed. He didn't ask too many questions. He just sat nearby, talked to me like I mattered, like I wasn't invisible. That meant more than anything. We kept our relationship a secret for 2 months. I knew my parents would never accept him. But with him, I felt safe. He was patient, gentle, and steady in a way I had never experienced before. Then came November 26th, 2004. I was standing in the bathroom of a gas station about 2 miles from my school, staring at a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines, clear as day. My hands were shaking so badly I had to hold onto the sink just to stay upright. When I told Aiden, I expected fear, maybe even panic. But he didn't run. He took my hands, looked right at me, and said, "We'll figure this out together, Nova. You're not alone." I wanted to believe him, but I knew my parents. And I knew exactly how that conversation would go. They wouldn't ask if I was okay. They wouldn't ask how I felt. The only thing that would matter to them was what people would think. On Sunday, January 13th, 2005, I told them at dinner. My voice felt small, but I said it anyway. I told them I was pregnant. My dad didn't react right away. He just sat there, still as stone. My mom dropped her fork and the sound echoed louder than it should have. When they found out Aiden went to a public school and worked at an auto shop, The room went completely silent. I counted it without meaning to. 12 seconds. Then my father stood up and said, calm as anything, if you keep that baby, you are no longer part of this family. By 9:05 that night, I was standing outside on the front porch. The rain had soaked through my sweater, and my suitcase felt heavier than it should have. I looked up once and saw Owen and Emma watching from the upstairs window. Neither of them came down. Neither of them said a word. I walked to a payphone and called Aiden. 25 minutes later, his uncle's truck pulled up. Aiden jumped out before it even stopped moving. He wrapped his jacket around me and pulled me into his arms while I cried so hard I could barely breathe. I've got you, he kept saying. I've got you. A few houses down, a neighbor named Amelia Brooks had seen everything from her window. She was a retired school teacher, kind and quiet. Around 9:30 that night, she opened her door and told me I could stay with her for as long as I needed. That small act of kindness saved me more than she probably ever knew. About 2.5 weeks later, Aiden found us a tiny studio apartment in Austin. It was $430 a month, sitting above a laundromat that always smelled like bleach and warm fabric. It wasn't much, but it was ours. It felt like a beginning. That same night, my parents threw me out. They had their lawyer draw up official papers. A notarized document stating that I'd given up all rights to any inheritance and that the Sinclair family had no responsibility, legal or otherwise, for me or my child. I kept that paper. I've kept it for 21 years. My daughter, Ava Marie Sinclair Cooper, was born on August 8, 2005. She was tiny and perfect, about 50 centimeters long with 10 little fingers, 10 little toes, her father's green eyes, and my dimples. She came into the world screaming at the top of her lungs, and I remember thinking, good. Stay loud. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small. The first 5 years of her life were hard. Everything blurred together. Work, school, exhaustion. Aiden worked long shifts while I finished my GED and slowly started taking community college classes, 2 at a time. We lived on peanut butter sandwiches, canned soup, and whatever we could afford that week. I learned how to stretch every dollar until there was nothing left to give. But we were together. And for a while, that was enough. Then, on August 14th, 2010, everything changed. A delivery truck ran a red light on Riverside Drive. Aiden was driving home after a long night shift. He was 23 years old. Ava had just turned 5. Just like that, he was gone. The life insurance payout was $11,000, that was all. $11,000 for the life of the man who had held me together when everything else fell apart. I was 22 years old, suddenly a single mother with a 5-year-old daughter and no one to call, no family to lean on. That should have been the moment I broke. But I didn't. While Aiden was still alive, I'd started picking up small interior design jobs. Nothing fancy, just helping neighbors decorate their apartments or staging homes for real estate agents who were willing to give me a shot. It wasn't much, but it gave me something to build on. After Aiden died, I threw myself into that work like it was the only thing keeping me standing because, honestly, it was. I didn't have the luxury of falling apart. I had Ava to take care of, bills to pay, and no safety net. Every project mattered, every dollar mattered. In 2013, I met Addison Blake at a design workshop. She was 53, recently retired, and had been a creative director at a major design firm. She carried herself with this quiet confidence, like she had seen it all before. For some reason I still don't fully understand, she took an interest in me. "You've got talent," she told me. "It's rough around the edges, but it's real. Let me help you shape it." And she did. She pushed me, challenged me, and taught me things I never would have learned on my own. She saw something in me when I was still trying to figure out if I was even good enough to try. By 2015, with her guidance and a $40,000 SBA loan, one I had to apply for twice before finally getting approved, I started my own company, Cozy Nest Designs. At first it was just me, juggling everything. But slowly it grew. One client turned into 2, then 5, then more. By 2023, Austin Monthly magazine featured my story. The headline said something like, "From Teen Mom to Design CEO." I remember holding that issue in my hands, thinking about how far I had come from that night in the rain. By 2025, I had 24 employees, nearly $4.8 million in annual revenue, and an office with a view of the Texas state capitol. 21 years went by without a single word from my family. Not a call, not a letter, nothing. Until Tuesday, January 17th, 2026, at exactly 7:25 p.m., I turned onto my street and immediately noticed a white Volvo parked outside my house. It had Oregon plates. Two people were standing at my front door. I knew who they were before I even got out of the car. My father looked older, his hair gray, his posture slightly bent. My mother stood the same way I remembered. Straight, stiff, controlled. Caleb and Hannah Sinclair, my parents. I hadn't seen them in 21 years. For a second, I thought about just driving past them, pretending I hadn't seen anything. But I didn't. I parked the car, stepped out, and walked straight toward them. They didn't waste time. They said they knew about my child. Said they wanted to meet him. Him. They told me they were hosting their 60th anniversary celebration at the Hotel Van Zant in 12 days. A big event. 150 guests, including the mayor, church leaders, and people from their community. They had already been telling everyone about their grandson. A successful young man, they said. Someone carrying on the family legacy. Then they put a blank check on my coffee table. $270,000. All I had to do was show up for 4 hours, take some family photos, play along, and then go back to my life like nothing happened. On top of that, they said they would put me back into the family trust. The estate was worth over $4.1 million. For a moment, I just sat there, looking at that check, listening to them talk like this was some kind of business deal. I was about to respond when I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. "Mom, is everything okay?" Ava stopped at the bottom, holding her geography textbook. She was wearing sweatpants and a University of Texas hoodie, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked relaxed, comfortable, at home. She was 21 now. My mother stood up slowly, her face shifting from confusion to something much closer to shock. "This is Ava," I said. "My daughter. Your granddaughter." Ava looked at them for a second, then back at me. And I could see it in her eyes. She understood immediately. "These are them, aren't they?" she said. "The grandparents who kicked you out when you were pregnant with me." My father tried to recover like he always did, like he could fix things with the right words. He suggested they could adjust the story, that Ava could attend the party as some kind of unexpected return, like she was a plot twist. Ava let out a short laugh, but there was nothing funny about it. "You want me to lie to 150 people about my entire life?" she said. That night, after Ava went upstairs, I went to the back of my closet and pulled out a fireproof lockbox. Inside were the papers, the ones they signed the night they erased me. The notarized document stating I had no rights to the family anymore. No inheritance, no connection, and buried in that same document, there was a line about any child I might have. Ava. Reduced to a few cold legal words before she was even born. I sat there for a while, holding those papers, remembering everything. Then I took photos of every page and uploaded them to cloud storage. I wasn't taking any chances. After that, I called Amelia Brooks. She picked up on the second ring. When I told her what had happened, she didn't hesitate. 21 years, she said, and they haven't changed one bit. I asked her if she still had the security footage from that night. She laughed softly. "I never delete anything," she said. "Old teacher habit. You document everything." 25 minutes later, my phone buzzed. An email. I opened it and saw the image right away. Grainy, a little blurry, but clear enough. A teenage girl standing on a porch in the rain, holding a suitcase. Me. The timestamp was right there in the corner. 9:10 p.m., January 13th, 2005. 2 days later, on Thursday afternoon, my brother Owen called me. His voice sounded different, older, heavier somehow. He told me my mom had seen the Austin Monthly article about me 3 years ago, but she hadn't actually read it properly. She saw the word child, saw that I was successful, and built her own version of the story. A grandson. For months, she had been telling people at church, at Rotary meetings, everywhere about this brilliant young man. And my father had gone along with it like it was the truth. Owen also mentioned something else. The anniversary party was going to be live streamed on the church's Facebook page. Not just 150 people in the room, thousands more watching online. By Sunday, January 25th, 2026, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Ava and I walked into the Crystal Ballroom at the Hotel Van Zant at 6:15 that evening. I wore navy. Simple, professional, but impossible to ignore. Ava walked beside me, calm and steady. My father was already on stage in the middle of a speech when I started walking toward him. The room shifted as people noticed. Conversation stopped. The crowd slowly parted to make space. I saw Owen standing off to the side, Emma next to him. They didn't try to stop me. They just watched. I walked up the steps to the stage, 4 of them steady and sure. Then I reached out, took the microphone from my father's hand, and turned to face the room. 150 people looking right at me. "Hello, everyone," I said. "My name is Nova Sinclair. I'm Caleb and Hannah's youngest daughter. The one they told you moved to Europe 21 years ago." The silence that followed was complete. I didn't go to Europe. On January 13th, 2005, my parents found out I was pregnant. I was 16 years old. That same night, they threw me out of the house. My voice didn't shake. Not this time. They had their lawyer prepare documents cutting me off completely. They told me I was dead to them. I reached into my bag and pulled out the paper I had kept for over 2 decades. My hands were steady as I held it up for everyone to see. "This is the letter my father mailed me 2 days later," I said. A notarized statement. Official. Final. I paused just long enough for the weight of it to settle over the room. These words right here, any dependents thereof, that's my daughter, Ava, their granddaughter, the one they've never even tried to meet. I looked out at the crowd, at the faces that had been listening to my parents' version of the story for years. "The grandson they've been talking about," I said. "He doesn't exist. They made him up based on a magazine article they didn't even bother to read all the way through." At that moment, I felt a hand slip into mine. Ava stepped up beside me. She took the microphone, her grip firm even if her emotions were right under the surface. "My name is Ava," she said. "I'm the granddaughter they didn't want." The room stayed completely still. No one moved. No one spoke. "I've known my whole life that my grandparents chose their reputation over my mom," she continued. "And by doing that, they chose it over me too." Her voice wavered for just a second, but she kept going. "You could have known me. You could have been there for my birthdays, my school plays, my graduation. You could have been part of my life." She took a breath, steadying herself. "But you chose not to. And you don't get to act like that was ever our fault." I squeezed her hand, and together, we stepped away from the microphone. We didn't wait for a response. We didn't look back. We walked off that stage, down those same steps, and out of that ballroom. The cold January air hit my face the second we stepped outside. It felt sharp but clean. Real. Behind us, I could hear the room erupt, voices rising, people reacting, but it already felt far away, like it didn't belong to me anymore. By the next morning, the live stream clip had spread everywhere. Thousands of shares. People talking, judging, reacting. Within a few days, my father stepped down from his position as a church elder. The consequences came fast, and they were real. But standing there that night, outside in the cold, with Ava's hand still in mine, none of that mattered. For the first time in 21 years, I felt free. I'm not waiting for my parents to change anymore. I'm not hoping for an apology that may never come. I'm living my life, the one I built from nothing, the one I fought for, the one that belongs to me. 21 years ago, I was a scared 16-year-old girl standing in the rain, watching my parents' car disappear down the street. I thought that was the end of everything, but it wasn't. I was wrong. You don't need someone else's approval to understand your worth. Setting boundaries isn't about getting even. It's about protecting yourself. It's about survival. And sometimes the family you create, the one you choose, is stronger than the one you were born into. This isn't some perfect happy ending. It's something better. It's real. And real endings don't need applause. They just need the truth.